What's going on, Sooner Nation? So this video has been long overdue, and I thought this is probably the best time and the only time I'm going to get to be able to record this video, and I really wanted to have a little bit of fun with it today, and I want you guys to join in the fun because I want to give you guys the final predictions for this class for the Oklahoma Sooners and talk about the ideal possibility of this being a top 3 class, because I think it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility and something Oklahoma fans should be watching out for, because the recruiting staff, well, not the recruiting staff, the staff itself and the coaches, they've been doing something on the recruiting trail since they've gotten here. You're finally going to see it start paying off. So if you haven't already, jump in the comments below, and I want to know what you guys think of this class. Give me maybe your final predictions. We're at 15 commits, so I think it's safe to say OU is going to take anywhere between 8 to 12 more guys. So I want you to drop those below if you have them handy. But before we dive into the recruiting class, I really want to dive into the strategy that's you're going to see start to pay off here, and it's going to pay dividends with some big time recruits. And it's the staff's in there. This is now their third real recruiting cycle. Third real recruiting cycle. They've had an opportunity now to be at Oklahoma and start to develop these relationships with kids over the past couple of years. And this is something that they did very well at Clemson. And when they really established those roots at Clemson, that's when you started to see Clemson vie for top 3 spots, even try to go for the number 1 spot. That's when they landed the Brian Breeses of the world and guys like that. So if you're an Oklahoma fan and you're looking at what Brent Venables and Todd Bates and this staff is doing, they've been out there building these relationships, establishing relationships at high schools, making their presence known. Hence why I think you've seen Oklahoma really expand their reach into the Northeast and even try to go out as far as Northwest and get guys like that. And if Oklahoma is going to be able to do that long term and have just even a small minute success doing that, Oklahoma is going to contend for national championships, because we talked about it the other day. In order to win a national championship, you have to put up top classes every cycle, and you have to put up top defensive classes and of that. And this staff's doing just that. So interesting thing here is I think you're going to start to see the staff's ability to develop and maintain relationships start to pay off by the end of this cycle. Now, this is where we need to start diving into the predictions about who we think is going to end up in this class. And just to start off, Oklahoma's got 15 commits already. And, this was going to be a particularly smaller class as it was. A lot of people were thinking 22 guys. I think now some people are on the 25, 26 range. I think it potentially could stretch even a little bit higher than that, because like on the offensive line, if Jake Sexton really performs at just a superstar level, you could see that guy get a first or a second round grade and potentially just walk out the door as well. Obviously, you're going to be losing Branson Hickman and things like that. So there's going to be scholarships that disappear off of this, or not even just scholarships, because it's not really scholarship numbers anymore. You're just talking about players. There's going to be players that disappear off this roster that are going to make it open to maybe take a larger class, especially when you get to the end of the class cycle. Now, obviously, your class right now, it is outlined by 2 players. You've got Elijah Thomas, who is a 4-star guy. A lot of people think he could stretch into 5-star territory, and same thing for Ryan Foje, an offensive tackle who I think will be a 5-star by the end of this class. And when I say Oklahoma lands 2 to 3 5-stars, Foje is already in that prediction class. So the first one I want to start off with, and this is absolutely or should not be any shock to you guys if you guys have watched the show, but that's going to be Michael Fasusi. And you guys know the drill, right? Michael Fasusi's been to Oklahoma many times. We've had him here on the podcast, so we've got a chance to personally talk to him about his relationship with Bill Bedenbaugh and, Oklahoma, and he likes it here. So he's been to Oklahoma like 7 or 8 times, and he's got an official visit set up for June 14th. Unfortunately, the Texas Longhorns are getting that final official visit. But if you're an Oklahoma fan, you should feel good about the recruitment of Michael Fasusi. It's just, I don't know. It's one that they've maintained for a while. Now, the next offensive lineman, and this is, I'm not ready to go predicting multiple 5-stars to commit in this class. So I'm going to go the conventional route of saying Darius Afalava will end up here. And not really a whole lot of sourced intel here to just say he's going to end up in this class, but just from talking to some people around Darius Afalava's camp, I really think the Oklahoma Sooners have positioned themselves to be a high contender for Afalava at the end of the day, even with missing out on Ogumoro, who, guys, I really think Darius Afalava thought he was going to end up in Oklahoma's class. So I'm looking at him saying you match him up with Owen Hollenbach, Michael Fasusi, and I'm blanking on Ryan Foje. This is a very good offensive line class. Even if you don't land a Lamont Rogers or a Ty Haywood or an Andrew Babaloa, like if you just land those 4 guys, you're happy and solid. Now, I do think Sean Hutton could end up in this class for Oklahoma. That is Michael Fasusi's teammate out at Louisville High School. I think he is one that we need to keep our eyes on. I've been telling you guys to keep your eyes on him. If he gets a scholarship offer from Oklahoma, I think he is a part of this class. But right now, he doesn't have the scholarship offer, so I'm not really going to include him in this list because I don't have any intel on whether or not he's going to get that offer. But the next one and the next position I want to switch to is wide receiver. Now, I have Emmanuel Choice on here. And I think that's an easy pick because Oklahoma was the first offer. He's been to Oklahoma like 3 or 4 times at this point. He's got an official visit set up on June 21st, which will be his last one. He's already been to Nebraska. He'll be at USC this upcoming week. And then he'll be at TCU on June 14th and Oklahoma on June 21st. Emmanuel Choice, I think, will be a Sooner. I don't think that one's an outlandish take. Remember, he is the 6'4", 190-pound wide receiver out of Lancaster, Texas. Now that shifts to Andrew Marsh, the guy who you're seeing on your screen right here. I wanted to shift it up a little bit. I think you've had a couple people across the industry. I think you've seen some back and forth on who that second wide receiver would be outside of Emmanuel Choice. Would it be a Caleb Cunningham out of Mississippi, who I hear Oklahoma's in the, or not Oklahoma, Alabama's in the mix there. Obviously, Ole Miss and Mississippi State have positioned themselves really well as Oklahoma. But you've also heard the name Quincy Porter out there. You've obviously aren't going after Isaiah Mosey anymore. I don't know if Jaden Nickens will be on the table anymore. So you look at it and you say, okay, so your 2 other options probably are Caleb Cunningham and Quincy Porter. But I wanted to shift it up a little bit. I wanted to be different here. This is where I think my list could be a little bit different from somebody else's, but this is where I think it could potentially miss. I know Oklahoma and Emma Jones have done a very good job with Andrew Marsh. 6'1", 173 pounds out of K. Jordan High School. Really likes Texas, though. I just want people to know that. Really likes Texas. He will be there on the 14th, but Oklahoma gets the last visit on June 21st. And he's already been here 7 times, guys. Like, he's been here 7 times. So if you're an Oklahoma fan, I would put some cautious optimism here, but I'm going to pick Andrew Marsh as the second wide receiver to Emmanuel Choice, who will actually be here for the Champion Barbecue as well. So keep that in your mind as well, along with Quincy Porter. But I wanted to kind of shift it up and be a little different and give you guys a little bit of a different take here. Additionally, I wanted to look at Omarion Robinson. Now, Omarion Robinson, you guys know all about this kid. We just recently talked about him. I'm trying to get him on the podcast, but I know he's got a really busy schedule, so not sure if we're going to be able to make this one happen or not. But as you can see, ESPN Rivals, they have him as a high contending 4-star in the country out of the state of Arkansas. So if you're Oklahoma, or you're no U fan, I really feel like you're looking at this one and saying Arkansas is probably your biggest competition. They're getting an OV for him on June 7th. He did announce that he is canceling his Georgia official visit, and I think he has one on the book for Oregon, and I know he has one on the book for LSU. So if you're Oklahoma, you're going to be battling both of those, or well, all 3 of those teams right there. I think Arkansas is your biggest competitor. And if Sam Pittman gets fired, I think you keep Omarion Robinson locked up. If Arkansas spreads out a good season, maybe this is a guy you lose. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like all of the signs and the intel point to Omarion Robinson ending up in this class for Oklahoma. Now, I kind of want to shift focus to the defensive line a little bit because I think this is where it's going to get really interesting for Oklahoma. Obviously, CJ Nixon, I think That one is one that everybody's penciling in. Now, does Oklahoma take a defensive end? I'm gonna tell you guys at the end of this class prediction, I've got Oklahoma at 25 commits. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna put another defensive end in there because I've got Todd Bates taking 3 more interior defensive linemen. And the first one's going to be Cole Breeler at 6'2, 265 pounds. He's got 3 OVs scheduled: Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Stanford. I don't know if all of those officials happen or if he's just going to end up committing here, but I think this kid will be a 4-star by the end of the cycle. And Cole Breeler, Todd Bates, really good relationship there out of the high school that Logan Howland came from. So again, you're just establishing a bigger pipeline. Now, I think the name at defensive line that everybody knows that I think you want Oklahoma to go out there and land just because of his sheer athleticism and ability to come in and make a difference and start right away is going to be Floyd Buchard. Floyd Buchard, as you can see, 6'3", 315 pounds. This is a guy that I think you bring him in and he's going to make an immediate impact on this defensive line. He could start at the 3 deep, maybe even the 4 deep, but you can get him some good snaps as a freshman here. Has not been to Oklahoma yet, but he is planning on getting here for an official visit here in the month of June. So if Oklahoma hits that out of the park, obviously he goes to Miami Central, but he's not from Miami. So I want people to keep that in mind. Although he goes to Miami Central, he's not from there. So I don't know if Miami can be as big of a threat as they could be if he was from the state of Florida originally. But Floyd Buchard, really good relationships across the board. All the intel points that Oklahoma could be the pick here at the end of OV season for Floyd Buchard. And I don't think this one will stretch out too long. And then lastly, on the defensive line, I've got Christian Evans. Now, we had him here on the podcast, so if you guys haven't checked that out, you need to go check it out already. But Christian Evans, really great kid. Guys, I know in 247 he's not ranked, but this kid is going to be a 4-star defensive lineman by the end of the cycle. Mark my words. He's got 19 total offers. They're continuing to stack, especially as he goes and he shows up at these camps. I don't know if he's going to be at the Rivals camp or not. I've been seeing some of those tweets go out with some of the other players, but I'm telling you guys, keep your eyes on Christian Evans, and I think he could commit here within the next month. Like, I think it is that imminent for Christian Evans. And then lastly, again, this is another one where I'm trying to be a little different than other people, and I want to give you guys a different take here. And that's going to be Zadarius Rainey-Sell. Now, I believe at one point he was committed to Washington. He's decommitted, reopened up his recruitment, got a total of 20 offers, but he's coming to Norman for the Champ U barbecue. Florida State, Oregon State's in there as well. Guys, if Oklahoma needs a linebacker, which I think there's a chance they might need to, I think you're going to see some attrition in the portal. Zadarius Rainey-Sell is going to be a great option, especially since at this point you're out on Dawson Merritt. I don't know if you're going to be able to get Christian Jones. I think those talks have died down. You haven't heard anything there on that front. And I haven't heard anything from Christian Jones himself with Oklahoma. So I'm looking at Zadarius Rainey-Sell, and I'm saying this guy could be a part of the class. Now, this leaves me to saying I've got 25 commits, and as it currently stands, that would give Oklahoma a 272.03 composite score. Now, if you looked at where that currently sits in the recruiting rankings, that would put Oklahoma at number 1. But obviously, we know by the time Oklahoma gets to this point, a lot of other schools are going to have their classes finalized as well. Now, there's a couple guys that we didn't talk about on here: Ty Haywood, Lamont Rogers, Andrew Babaloa, Jonah Williams. Those are 4 guys that I think are absolute toss-ups. You're hearing a lot of great things about Lamont Rogers, although I'm not as big of a believer in it, and I don't think you guys should buy a lot of that hype right now. If he ends up showing up for another visit, maybe like an unofficial before his official, maybe at that point we start to buy the Lamont Rogers hype. Ty Haywood, he hasn't been to Oklahoma since September. So I'm definitely not counting my bets there until he gets his ass back on campus. And then additionally, you got Andrew Babaloa. I think that one's probably the biggest question mark, right? Because that is a very tight-knit recruitment. Not a lot of people have a lot of intel there. So I think this is a kid where if he has a really good relationship with Bill Bedenbaugh, he could just end up committing on his official visit, which would be absolutely huge. So I didn't go for those 3 because, again, I mean, I think it's too easy to say Oklahoma's going to get 2 or 3 5-star offensive linemen, but I think it's a possibility. So keep that in your mind. I think Oklahoma could get one more 5-star offensive lineman. I just didn't want to predict that. I didn't want to give you guys' hopes up too much. And then Jonah Williams. The only reason why I didn't include him in my class prediction for Oklahoma is because I'm really questionable about that MLB stuff, the baseball. Like, is he going to go play baseball? Would he leave Oklahoma? Like, would this be something where he gets on campus and then gets drafted and then just leaves and never plays a snap? So that's kind of what I'm thinking there. That's why I didn't include him, but he's obviously the guy that could drop. And if he drops, I think he significantly adds to the talent that you've gotten on campus already. And he would definitely bump you up. I think it's like the high 280s. So if you guys haven't already and you guys have made it this far, go ahead, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, join the discussion, jump in the comments below. Give me your thoughts. Give me what you guys think is going to happen on the recruiting trail from Oklahoma at this point. Like I said, we needed to make final class predictions. I wanted to get these out to you guys. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button.